Alright, coming up in this video we take an in-depth look at the new Hikmicro Stellar series. Not just one, but all 4 models, giving you a solid indication of features, how to use them, and a comparison between image quality and specs on each unit. That way you can make the right choice for how you hunt. As I say, there's no best thermal, it's about what's best for you and what you want to do with it. Coming up, we take a look at the image quality on each unit at different distances so you can make the right choice for the distance that you want to shoot at. We'll also cover standard features and specs across the series and how to use the device itself. So that's what the buttons do, how to access the menus, and we'll take an in-depth look at how to zero the device. Then we'll take a look at how to update the firmware on the device using the app over Wi-Fi and then by the PC as well. To accurately show the image quality at different distances on each device, we have our dogs tied up out on a field. We have a dog at 45 meters, one at 100 meters, another at 150 and 200, then lastly a dog at 300 meters. They are small working dogs ranging from 15 to 20 kilos, except for the last dog at 300 meters, which is around 30 kilos. They are very happy and friendly dogs too, and we're all too happy to help us with the testing. It's worth noting that the Stellar series has 4 different color palettes: white hot and black hot, which are the ones most commonly used by hunters. Then we have Fusion, a much more colourful option, and lastly red hot, which is basically white hot, but it will show red in the hottest areas. We have split all 4 devices up on the screen so you can compare each one. You will see that the base mag on each device is dramatically different and can greatly affect field of view. Choosing the right base mag for how you hunt is very important. If the base mag is low, you will have a wider field of view. It will make target acquisition easier and shooting at close to mid-range will be awesome. However, once you look out further, image quality will be greatly reduced. On the other hand, if you have a high base mag, you'll experience better image quality at a distance. Accurately taking longer shots will become easier, but target acquisition may take a little longer and moving targets will be more difficult at closer ranges. So it really comes down to what is best suited for how you hunt and the distances you intend to shoot at. Whether you head shoot, whether you shoot moving targets, and among other things, how important image quality is to you. All these things will help you decide on what is the right unit for you. Let's switch over to Black Hot and take a closer look at the 640 pixel models. In the top left we have the SQ50, the top of the range model from the Stellar series. It has a 50mm lens and a base mag of 2.3, which is a great middle ground. It's not too high and it's not too low, offering good target acquisition while still maintaining awesome image quality at a distance. This would make the SQ50 the perfect all-rounder for those that shoot at close and long distance. Headshot accuracy will also be possible from close ranges all the way out to 300 meters realistically. If we take a look at the SQ35, it has a much lower base mag of 1.6, giving it a very wide field of view. This is great for fast target acquisition and makes tracking and taking out moving targets much easier. However, image quality is greatly affected the further you go out. Once you get to 150 meters and beyond, taking accurate headshots would become increasingly more difficult. Let's now take a look at the 384 pixel models and compare their image quality. I was surprised to see how much the 384 pixel models stood up, at least at the close to mid range. It's evident that Hikmicro have a very good image algorithm. Typically, 384 pixel devices will have a higher base mag to try and compensate for the lack of pixels and the lower image quality. Let's take a look. In the top left we have the SH50, which has a 50mm lens and a base mag of 3.8, which is quite high. This offers pretty good image quality close to mid-range and honestly not that bad at longer distances either. The drawback is it has a very narrow field of view, making target acquisition slower and tracking moving targets would be more difficult. However, if you shoot mainly stationary targets, this would be a great choice for those on a budget. Headshot accuracy out to 150 meters would be comfortable, with increasing difficulty from there on. Moving on to the SH35, which has a 35mm lens and a base mag of 2.7, which is lower than the SH50, giving it a wider field of view. Good for fast target acquisition and tracking moving targets will be decent. Image quality from close to mid-range is also pretty decent, making this unit a great budget option for those that shoot out to that 100 to 150 meters. However, headshots become more difficult after 100 meters, but still realistic out to 150. Well guys, that about covers it for image quality. I know this is a long video, but I'm trying to include all the info and comparisons that I would want to see if I was purchasing a new thermal. After all, it is a big cost. So let me know in the comments below if I've done a good job or if I've waffled on too much, and I'll try and improve in the future. Now let's move on to our detailed review on how to use the device, how to sight it in, and some of its features. Alright, let's take a look at how this bad boy works. At the front we've got our eyepiece and our eye relief adjustment. And then we have our 3 buttons here. Each button has 2 functions. And then we move down and we have our main scroll wheel now and buttons. So it's a scroll wheel and it's a button. So this allows you to access menus, zoom in and out, and stuff like that. Up top here we have our battery holder for our external battery. It takes a 123A battery. That'll give you an extra 1 hour battery life on top of the internal battery. So on the right hand side here we have a USB port behind this cap, which will allow you to charge the device, plug it into your computer and download videos off it, manually run updates if need be. And also you can plug a battery pack in if you wanted to. That would extend your running time dramatically. And moving down to the front, we have our focus ring. Now this allows you to focus in for different distances, giving you clarity based on what you're looking at. And then obviously we have our lens cap on the front here. It's a good lens cap. It holds shut pretty firmly, but it's easy to open, pretty well made. So that's the basics of it. Now let's swing back and see actually how this device works, what these buttons do. So if we come back to our first 3 buttons here, so to turn the device on, you press and hold the power button, and if you want to just put the device in standby mode, just press it once. Then we have our record button here. Now if you just press this button once, it'll take a photo. If you press and hold it, it'll start recording. And on the right here we have our color palette button. If you press that once, it'll cycle through the different color patterns that we have. And then if you press and hold it, it'll manually calibrate the device. So if you ever need to clear up that image for whatever reason, you can press and hold that to do a manual calibration. That's also handy if you do turn the automatic calibration off. That gives you full control over when it calibrates. Alright, so now we're going to run through how to connect to the Wi-Fi, how to access the menus, and then how to zero the device. Alright, so go over to your tablet. We want to download the Hikmicro site app. So go to the App Store, Alright, then you just download that app there, or if you've already got it installed, press open like I have here now. So now that we've got the app ready, we need to turn the hotspot on in the scope itself. So we need to go into the menus. So press and hold your menu button, scroll through until you find the Wi-Fi option and then turn that Wi-Fi on. Then once you've done that, go back to your tablet, go to your Wi-Fi settings, and then you want to connect to the HIC settings. And the password will be your serial number of the device. In my case, it starts with the K. You can actually see it up the top there as the name of the Wi-Fi as well, so it saves looking on the device. So we enter that. As you can see, it's connected to the Wi-Fi of the device now. You do not need signal for this to work, just to be clear. And you come back into the side app, and you'll see Start Live View will appear. Now we click on Start Live View, and now we can see what the scope can see. Alright, so now we're going to go through on how to use this device. Alright, so in the app itself, you can actually control a lot of features. You can control the palette color, you can zoom in and out, you can control the contrast, you can control the brightness, and you can also record or take photos. Alright, so now we'll run through how to get through the menus and access everything and then zero the device. Alright, so we just want to press and hold our scroll wheel, and as you'll see, we've got the menu here now, so we can scroll through and change any settings that we need to. So as you can see, auto calibration is on, microphone recording is on, audio is on. So the Stella actually has a pre-record feature. Now what that'll do is it'll record in the background, and when the scope feels the recoil, it'll actually create a video clip from that shot. So it'll make sure you never miss any action. And then we have our reticle, and then we also have reticle groups. So what you can actually do is you can have up to 5 reticle groups with up to 5 different reticles. That means you have plenty of options to create zeroing profiles for different rifles. It's also handy for the same rifle so that you could actually sight it in for 50, 100, 150, 200, 250 even, and you could have a reticle that you can switch between on the fly before you're getting ready to take the shot. So if you know it's at 200, you can switch to your reticle that's sighted in for that distance. And you can change it on the fly by simply pressing the picture icon and the palette icon at the same time. And that will actually cycle through. As you'll see in the top right hand corner, you'll see it's cycling through my reticles there now. So I could have a reticle for 100 meters, a reticle for 200, 300 and so on. Currently though, I don't have this set up. Alright, let's continue. So we can, as you can see, we can cycle through our reticle groups by pressing the scroll wheel button. We'll keep moving on from there. We have our picture-in-picture. We can turn that on and that'll give us a picture-in-picture up the top there, which allows you to see a wide field of view and a zoomed-in image at the same time. Then we go up from that, we have our scene mode, which allows you to change between jungle and recognition. And then we have our brightness adjustments, our contrast, and our network, so we can turn our hotspot on and off. Restore, so we can reset the device to default. Version, if you ever need to check if your device is up to date with the latest firmware, you can do it through there. We go back, and that's basically everything that we need to look at right now. So let's just get into the zeroing now. So we're going to start with our reticle group A, and then we're going to go to reticle. Now this is where you actually do your sighting in. So what you want to do is now press the scroll wheel button, and now we're in the reticle. So, and then we press our scroll wheel button again, and we've moved the reticle from off to reticle 1. So we can cycle through all the way to 5 different reticles. So we'll start with reticle 1. We're going to change our distance. So what we do is we press our scroll wheel button, and that'll activate the distance so that we can change it. So we're going to change this to, and we press it one more time to move to the next number. So we're going to make this 50 meters. All right, we keep pressing, scroll all the way through, and now we're back to being able to cycle through the other options here. And then we've got our type. Now that's the shape of the reticle. So we can actually change the shape of our reticle here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and number 4 here is the one that I like. I prefer this one. So you just press your scroll wheel button to cycle through them. And I like number 4 here. And now I can just scroll down to color. So, and then you can just press the scroll wheel button again and we can change the color. Alright, so I'm going to choose green. And now this is our freeze frame. This is what we'll actually use in a second. Make it very easy to zero it. You know, they call it a one-shot zero, but to be quite honest, it'll probably take you a few shots to get it spot on. Especially you want to do it at, you know, your 40, 50 meters and then out to your 100 meters. So you're going to use more than one, that's for sure. So go down the bottom here. I've actually played with this, so we'll bring this back to 0. Alright, so the zoom here will actually allow you to zoom in and make finer adjustments on your zeroing. So we can actually make adjustments based on how much it's zoomed in, which allows you to fine tune it significantly. And then down the bottom here is actually where you move your reticle to zero it. So I'm just going to do a demonstration here. I'm going to go out and put a heat patch on this target out here to simulate where a shot would land, and then we're going to sight it into there. So basically what I'm going to do is I want it to be center, obviously. Alright, and then when we take a shot, say it landed to the right there, then we can move our reticle and simply zero it very quickly. Alright, so I'm going to go out there and do that now. You mad cow. I've got a cow right in front of me. Just come in to say hello, it needs to piss off. So what we want to do is, we want to zero it now to that patch. So we go back up the freeze frame. So we're aiming for the center of this target here now. We want to get that right where we're aiming, right in the center. Then we want to press that scroll wheel button. Alright, so that's as close as I'm happy to get it right now. So now we're in the freeze frame. So you can put your scope down now and you can fiddle with it. You don't need to hold it still. That's going to stay exactly right there, so you can move the crosshair precisely with no issues. So what we want to do now is we want to go down to the X and Y axis down here, and we want to press our scroll wheel button to activate the X, and that will move it either left or right with the scroll wheel. As you can see it moving there now. You can see the green lines where it originally was, so we want to move it around 35 to the right there. Then we want to press our scroll wheel button and that'll move it to the Y axis, and now we can move it up and down. Alright, so we want to put it right on our heat spot there, and then we can press our center scroll button, and then we can go back up to freeze, press our scroll wheel button again, and there we have it. So that's actually zeroed it now. So if we were to take another shot right on center there, I could nearly guarantee that it would be spot on or close to it. So that's it, that's how you zero it in. Now if we wanted to, we could go back up to our reticle 1 and go to press our scroll wheel button. It'll come up with save parameters, so we want to save it. And now we move on to reticle 2. So as you can see, reticle 2 is already set for 100 meters, so we could go through that process again and do it for 100 on a different reticle, so we could change between different distances on the fly, creating very precise accuracy for the different distances we want to shoot at. We'll leave that as is, and I'll go back and show you what happens when we change it on the fly. So press and hold your scroll wheel button to exit back to the main screen. As you can see here now, if I press the picture button and the palette button at the same time, it brings up reticle A, which is the one sighted in for 50 meters. If I press it again, it brings up reticle 2, which is for 100 meters. So that's just an example of what you can do, and that's how quick it is. So I could quickly just change it again and keep cycling through them and come back to reticle 1 at 50 meters. I wanted to change to a different reticle group. I could press and hold the scroll wheel button, go to the reticle group menu here, and press and change to the next group B, which then gives you another 5 reticles that you can sight in for different distances. But I'll take that back to reticle group A, and that is pretty much it. Alright, so let's say I want to shoot this glowing dot here. Alright, so to zoom in we use our scroll wheel. It's very convenient. I absolutely love the scroll wheel on this thing. We can zoom right in, we can see our glowing dot there. We can see our target, and it's pretty bloody cool, isn't it? We can then go to the front, we can focus it up. Look at that, we're bringing it in a lot clearer there now. So using the focus ring on the front here, zoom back out, and that's what we have. Alright, so we sell these glow targets here. If you want some of those, jump on and have a look. You can just use a bit of foil if you like. And if you're having trouble seeing it, try a different colour palette. So we'll change the colour palettes here now, and you'll see, okay, so even on the black hot there, we can see quite a lot. So when you see a lot of different stuff there now with that colour palette, we go to the next one. If you're having trouble seeing it, just try a different colour palette. You might find you can see it a lot better. Now these things can be mounted directly to a pick rail using 30mm traditional rings. Alright guys, I think that just about covers it. I don't know what else to tell you. Now I'm going to show you how to update any Hikmicro monocular or scope through the app. First you need to download the app, so go to the App Store, download the Hikmicro site app. We've already got it downloaded, so it's there ready to go. Before you can connect your device to the app on your phone, you need to make sure you go into the menus on your device and turn network hotspot on. Alright, now we need to go to our Wi-Fi settings on our phone, and in the list we'll see a Hikmicro device. Now we need to connect to that. Now the password is the serial number. You can find that on the unit itself, or you can see it in the Wi-Fi name. So up the top there, the first letter before the numbers is where the password starts. So we start with J86 and then we go through all the numbers. Alright, now once we're connected to that device, we can go into the Hikmicro site app. We can go device connection or start live if it pops up. And now we know the device is connected. This is where you control it and you can see what the device can see. But we don't want to do that. We want to update this device. So we go back to the main screen. We go to the Me icon down in the bottom right hand corner, and you'll see the device that we've just added up the top here. If you click on that, you can match it up with the serial number, make sure it's the right one. If you have more than one Hikmicro device, you can see the current version number and it is out of date. Now we can hit device upgrade, but it won't work yet. What we wanted to do is just add the device to the app so then we can download the firmware update. What we need to do now is to go back to our Wi-Fi, disconnect from the Hikmicro device and connect to a Wi-Fi that has access to the internet. And then we go back to the Hikmicro site app, and in here we can click device upgrade. New version available, we hit download and off we go. Once this is downloaded, I'll show you what to do next. Just a handy tip, if you are having connection issues, even when you're using the Wi-Fi to an Apple device, turn the mobile data off and it just seems to work a lot better. Alright, so the upload's complete now, so we're connected to the internet still currently, but what we need to do now is connect to the Wi-Fi of the device again. So once we've done that, we press OK and it will update the device. And now we can see the Hikmicro is there again, so we connect to it. We go back to our upgrade screen, and now that we're connected back to the device, we can press OK. If nothing comes up Then we click device upgrade again. It'll already have the download stored on the device, so now it will be ready to upgrade. So click upgrade. This is the issues that why I do it on the computer. So we're presented with another issue. The update failed to transmit. Now what we need to do is we need to go into our settings and we need to turn mobile data off. This should fix any connection issues with the Hikmicro device. Alright, as you can see, the device is upgrading. We're up to 55%. Once it finishes, it will restart. If there is another update, it might run again. So be prepared to just leave the device to sit for a good 20 minutes to make sure it completes all the updates. Some devices do one update, some will do two. So it may restart more than once and then run another update. But in this case, the Gryphon is only doing the one update. So as you can see, it's ready to use now. Right, as you can see, we're on the correct version, 5.539, and the correct build. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to upgrade using your computer. You will need a USB cable that goes from USB-C to your normal USB so that you can plug it into your computer. And it's best to do this on a PC. So let's get into it. Here we have a Stellar SQ50 and a Gryphon GQ35, so a scope and a monocular. You'll see that the SQ50 currently has two upgrades that we need to run. So not just the one file, but two. And then the Gryphon only has one. That's something to keep in mind if you do the upgrade on the app itself. Sometimes you're not getting the absolute latest update, or it may not run both updates, so you could be missing out on some important fixes or improvements. So in my opinion, it's best to download the latest firmware from the Hikmicro website and install it through a computer if you're able to. Especially on scopes, because they're much more complicated, have a lot more features, and it's very important to have them updated to the latest firmware and ensure that they're functioning correctly and got good zeroing and all that. And once you've done that, you need to turn the Wi-Fi hotspot off. So you need to go into your device and turn the network hotspot off. Otherwise, the update won't run. So you need to scroll through your menus until you find the network option. And there we have it. So hotspot is on, and we need to turn that off. Otherwise, the update won't run. If the device has a removable battery, we need to take that out. So in this case, the Gryphon has a removable battery, and the Stellar has an internal battery as well as a removable one. So in this case, we need to take the battery out of the Gryphon, and it's probably a good idea to take the extra battery out of the Stellar as well. But in a normal situation, if it's got an internal battery, you don't worry about this step. We can now plug the device directly into the computer's USB. Right, now we have the device connected to the computer. We can turn it on so it'll run off the power from the computer. So what we want to do now is we want to go to the Hikmicro website and download the latest firmware. We type in Hikmicro firmware. Right, now the first link that shows up should be the correct link. So we click on firmware Hikmicro. And then we scroll down, click accept on this stuff, get that out of the way. And now we can see all the firmware upgrades for the different Hikmicro devices. Okay, so you want to find your device here. So keep in mind some firmware updates are different for different models of the same series of devices. So for example, in the Stellar series, we have an update for this SQ35 and the SQ50 in one package. But the SH35 and the SH50 are in a different package. So make sure you download the correct one. In the instance of the Gryphon, all the Gryphon devices use the same firmware. So that's easy and convenient. But just keep in mind that may not be the case for your device. So once you've found your device, you just need to download it, So I've already downloaded them, so let's take a look. They come in a zip file, so you need to unzip it. So the Gryphon here, you right click and you can extract it. Creates this file here, this folder. You double click on it, and inside there you'll have the release notes for the upgrade and also another zip file. Now this is the actual update. So we extract this one. Now that's extracted, we double click on it and open it up, and we get this file here. Now this is the actual upgrade file that we need to copy across to our Gryphon device. So what we do now, we open up this PC or my computer, depending on your Windows version, and then we go to our USB drive. In this case I have nothing in there because I haven't recorded any videos on this device. So what we need to do is either drag and drop that update into the USB drive, or we can copy and paste it. Right, there it is. Now what you do now is you turn the Gryphon off. So here's the Gryphon plugged in, ready to go. Make sure not to unplug it, okay? That's the important thing. So we're going to turn it off. It'll disconnect from the computer. Right, now it's off, we're going to turn it back on. Now when it first turns on, the device can take some time before it starts upgrading. But there it is there. You can see it upgrading now, and you've got to leave this plugged in to your computer until it finishes upgrading. Do not unplug it while it's upgrading. Alright, so it's best to just leave it, just sit the device there and just walk away for 20 minutes and come back. You can watch it if you want, but it's best not to play with that cable in case you accidentally move it and disconnect it. Alright, I've come back to my Gryphon device here now, and I can see that it's finished upgrading. It's been turned on for a while. No other upgrading options have popped up. So it's complete now. So I can actually turn this device off, put the battery back in it, and put it back to work. Alright, so let's take a look at the situation where you have two upgrades that you need to run. So let's take a look at the SQ35 and SQ50 Stellar models here. I have it already downloaded. I've unzipped it into this folder here. And now we have two updates. Basically all you need to do is copy one update onto the device at a time, let it upgrade using the same methods, and then once it's finished that one, you copy the next one across. So we've got the main one here. We do that one first. We unzipped it and we have our file there. So what we do is we copy that onto our Stellar. We turn the Stellar off, then turn it back on, let it run the update, and then once it's finished, we come back into the computer. We go to our second update, we extract it, and then we open up our second update, and we'll have the file by the same name, but we want to copy that file onto the device and then run that update. So turn the device off and turn it back on and let it run the second update. And once that's done, you just want to go into the device settings, check the version number, and make sure all the version numbers add up to what you upgraded to. So that's the two ways on how to upgrade the firmware on your Hikmicro device. It's a good idea when you first get your device to upgrade it because you don't know what update is currently on it. Especially if it's a scope, you might be missing out on some important zeroing upgrades and improvements. So you're best to upgrade before you take it out and sight it in. Alright guys, I hope that video will help you upgrade your device. But if you need any help, get in touch with us. If you need to buy a unit or help upgrading one, give us a call and we'll give you a hand. Thanks guys.